Well, I'm not sure you'll be able to read this PowerPoint. So don't worry, because it's really more for my benefit to remind me what I wanted to say. There are some pictures that hopefully you'll be able to see them. And I mean, a great believer in pictures. I think they help a lot to convey ideas that are difficult to put into words. I titled this A World Fit for Everyone, and I take that title from, and the subtitle is The Role of Economic and Social Rights, etc. But the title A World Fit for Everyone I take from the title of the report that children at the UN Special Session on Children in 2002 presented to the General Assembly of the United Nations. And they argued that a world fit for children was a world fit for everyone. And I think this links in very well with the whole vulnerability concept, that if we are structuring our society so it addresses the needs of the most vulnerable, we're going to be addressing the needs of everyone. Vulnerability, it seems to me, as Martha has been saying, is really a concept of universality. And like Martha's work, this project that I'm working on now builds on the fact of our common vulnerability and our common interdependency. A world fit for children is going to be a world fit for women and for everyone. And this is, my project is also grounded in the belief that feminism and what I call genderism are mutually complementary approaches to the common threats to the values of human flourishing. Recently I was at a forum at Emory, and one of the scholars there said, feminism does not cease to be feminist theory when it addresses systematic devaluations of others besides women. I thought that was so true. So to one of the questions posed by the conference organizers was, is there an inconsistency or inevitable tension between child-centered approaches and feminist approaches? And my answer is no. Genderism, which is the word I've used to describe a child-centered approach, doesn't cease to be genderism when it addresses the devaluation of persons other than children. And it seems to me that systematic devaluations of women and children are deeply interconnected and need to be addressed together. So there's no inherent incompatibility. I talk about genderism. This is a concept that I sort of rolled out in Hatching the Egg. And I drew upon Erikson, Erik Erikson, the great developmental psychologist's notion of generativity, which he defines as sort of the pinnacle of maturity, as a commitment to the welfare of succeeding generations. I added to that insights from feminist methods, so I would be asking the child question, as feminists ask the woman question, to surface hidden injustices towards children. And so I called this concept genderism. Well, I've become, over time, I felt that the genderism was not expansive enough or not focused in the right place to convey what I wanted to convey. So I've drawn on some of the insights of developmental science and ecological and environmental science to create a follow-on to genderism, which I call eco-genderism. And eco-genderism, of course, is recognizing that childhood occurs in an ecological context. For those of you who are social workers, whenever I don't know if you can see this diagram up here, for those of you who are social workers, you have been looking at a diagram like this ever since you started your training, because social workers come at the concept of a child-centered approach by actually placing the child in the center and looking at the microsystems and mesosystems in which the child is involved. For me, this was an antidote to the liberal individualism, which would situate children completely either distinct from families or completely hidden within families. Here we have microsystems like the school, the family, the faith community are all intersecting around the child. You can add complexity to this kind of diagram. Courts, media, neighborhoods, peer groups, other environments in which children are growing. Exosystems are the environments in which children don't actually necessarily appear, they don't actually inhabit necessarily, though sometimes they do, those arenas, but these arenas have tremendous impact on how children develop and thrive and how well they do. Parents' workplace is a good example. The child may never go to the parent's workplace, but if the parent's workplace allows flex time and gives generous health benefits. It's a different world for the child that if the parent's workplace doesn't have any health benefits or job security and mandates overtime whenever the boss says, tonight you're working. The healthcare system, the labor market, the justice system, political systems. And I have to say I've been fascinated as we listen to each of the speakers that these concepts of the various systems and the institutions that affect children and women have kept on appearing sometimes in different guises. But what I wanted to focus on, particularly in this paper, is the macro system. The macro system is the surrounding culture of ideas and power, values, politics, prejudice, and so on. And it permeates society. I like to say it's like water in the ecosystem. The macro system is this culture, and particularly prejudice is part of the macro system. A lot of the things that we, in fact, I think that Angela may have described as feelings that we don't know where they come from, but they're part of our macro system. And I've argued that the American macro system has been very toxic to children and their caregivers because of the focus on individual autonomy, the rejection of notions of solidarity and interdependence, and the elevation of market efficiency over all other values. A tremendous rejection of the concept of social and economic rights. And we've heard that again by prior speakers described as one of the fundamental flaws in terms of the way our systems mask dependency. What I've embarked on recently, what I'd like to talk a little bit about today, is a comparative project. One of my frustrations in dealing with issues of why we don't have why we have this notion that the family is a private entity and that parents are supposed to create the setting for success for their children. If they don't, they've failed, and then only the state comes in only as a safety net. One of my frustrations has been it's very difficult to say, without using comparative context, how much is it that we owe to children and their caregivers. You know, people say, well, we just can't afford it. So I find the comparative context very good, a good vehicle, because I can say, well, other people can afford it, other societies can afford these resources, why can't we? So other nations succeed in creating environments that promote human flourishing. That's one of my working hypotheses. Women and children flourish together in societies that provide tangible supports for all women and all children. And the existence of a robust discourse of social and economic rights, these are those rights to housing, education, nurture, food, etc., health care, that a robust discourse of social and economic rights, which is characteristic of much of the rest of the world, is necessary in order to develop such universal supports. The project that I've worked on, that I've been working on now, is both quantitative and qualitative. I'm doing research into the laws and policies of the United States and Italy. Why did I choose Italy? Several reasons. It's a wonderful place to go do your projects, right? Also, I had a fellowship at the European University Institute while I was on sabbatical, and that is located in Florence. And probably a more defensible reason is that I lived in Italy for many years and I speak fluent Italian, so I can actually go and study in Italy and read the literature, and I can understand what people are telling me. That's another good reason to study in Italy. It's not just the wonderful food and the great wine and so on. Well, so I'm researching the laws and policies of the United States and of Italy, looking at issues of, particularly now, I'm focusing on issues of pregnancy and infancy, child care and education, the financial support of families, and child protection and health care. But I'm also doing field work. And this field work I've been doing in the province of Umbria because I know the dialect there and I can really understand what's going on. I haven't yet decided what U.S. region is going to be my comparison. I've put field work in scare quotes partly because I know that what I'm doing is not true empirical research, but it's been my belief throughout my career that narrative and being able to place issues in a human context, talking about what actually happens to families, what happens to children, is a very powerful